So welcome to our third episode of Coffee and Conversation with Dorota and I. Our special guest today is Chad Mike Collins. We are so glad to have you here, spending time chatting with us over a nice mug of coffee, or in my case, a cup of tea. Chad is a talented American actor and producer, best known for his roles as Brandon Beckett in the Sony Sniper franchise and Alex Echo 31 from the legendary gaming franchise. Today, we're going to chat on a variety of topics. Thank you to those who sent in questions, and thank you, Chad, for being here. We appreciate you spending time with us.
Always a pleasure talking about one of my favorite topics.
Now, we are going to begin with the topic of law of attraction. I know it's a subject that people lack understanding of due to the different types of information out there. But please tell us, Chad, how were you first introduced to the law of attraction and what steps did you take to start incorporating it into your life?
I kind of stumbled upon, this concept of law of attraction many years ago. I had some health things going on, and when I was trying to, troubleshoot, how to figure out some of these, health issues that were affecting me. And I wasn't finding very much relief or assistance from, the Western medical establishment, so to speak. They have a certain way of looking at things that just wasn't cutting the mustard, as they say over here in the States. So I dove headlong into health and natural health and alternative medicine and holistic healing. And you can't start exploring that without also coming across, mental work, spiritual work, mind, body, spirits, all connected. So that naturally was a segue for me, focusing on health and physicality and getting better. It really introduced me to some of the teachers and core concepts of law of attraction, which deals more with the mind and more with the spirit. So I got turned on to the famous documentary, The Secret, way back in the day. The Secret was basically a documentary about law of attraction, and there's a lot of talking heads, a lot of spiritual teachers in there that weighed in on the power of law of attraction, how it all really, works. It was pretty light on how to apply it to your life, in a way, but it did have a lot of great introductory kind of the way that it broached the subject first was very helpful to me. So I went on and started reading the books of those teachers that appeared in the documentary, and here we are, and it completely changed my life. So, I would say that I discovered it by accident, but it was a natural extension of discovery through the answers I was seeking, in the physical health arena.
How many years you've been, basically following that now for?
Well, I 13, 14, 15, a long time, and I still, all day, every day, I still read fantastic books by, these great teachers I've discovered, the ones that really speak to me. I do kind of law of attraction work just about every single day. It's like going to the gym in a lot of ways. If you want something to work for you, you got to work it. So it's been just a habit and a practice of mine forever now. I can't remember when I wasn't, employing the principles of law of attraction to, improve my life experience. So I'm an old vet.
So that's great, isn't it? Because you introduced us to it nearly a year ago when we met, and you told us about this book. And I must say, it did changed my perspective on how I look at things, and also what sort of people I'm surrounding myself with. I sort of looking more now on positivity all around. So I also try to surround myself with more positive than negative people. Would you say that you're sort of doing that as well? Because you come across as such a positive person and you're spreading all this positivity around. So would you say that you just trying to surround yourself more with positive than negative people?
I think it's a great question. I think it's a byproduct. It's kind of cause and effect. When you when you take the steps to, be optimistic, more positive, to, find those better serving thoughts and beliefs, raise your vibration. Law of attraction is just really a game of vibration and energy and frequency, all these scientific concepts that we were taught, in school, and that we understand. It's everything in the energy has universe. And so the higher energies, the higher frequencies, they vibrate differently, and it's scientifically proven now that like attracts like. The fundamental concept of law of attraction is that like attracts like, across the entire universe. And so if you are vibrating at a higher level, which is, more positivity, more optimism, kind of feeling good, taking care of your own happiness, the manifestations, the things in your life start to show up to support that, and it gets a clear indication that you're there or you're not, depending on who shows up, what shows up, and how. So it's no one needs to have a degree in physics or quantum physics or anything like that to make law of attraction work for them. The old adage is, if you're doing it right, if you're on the path by what shows up in your life, and if what's showing up in your life, whether it's money or people or experiences or opportunities, if you like what that is, then you're putting the good stuff out there. If you don't like what it is, well, you've got a constant feedback loop of what's showing up in your life. So then you go back to the drawing board and you start to think different thoughts and maybe create some different beliefs and do a little bit extra work and the areas that you want your life to improve. And then the universe kind of delivers it manifestationally in your life. So you can constantly measure and constantly manage how well you're doing just by the people and the places and the things that are showing up in your life, which is just really great, because I don't want to go back to school and get a doctorate in quantum physics. And luckily you don't have to.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
It's interesting that you said that it was The Secret that you first came across the law of attraction, because that is the first thing I watched when I came across the law of attraction was The Secret. It blew my mind. And you say it doesn't really share as much, but it is good for those who may have not come across the law of attraction to actually start that. It's like a little insight into what's the bigger picture. So that really, I literally went to my daughter, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch this. It was really an eye-opener because, I lived in that sort of negativity and always thinking negative thoughts and thinking negative things about myself. And it was through that, actually watching The Secret, that I started to think in a much more positive light and change the way I spoke and talk and everything. So yeah, that's really cool that you actually watched that as well. So, but there is points in our journey when we need to stop and rethink. I know for me, my life experiences, whether that be on social media or daily life, can affect how we feel emotionally and physically. How do you keep yourself grounded and how do you recharge?
How do I keep myself grounded and how do I recharge? Good questions. I think that, I've made, gratitude a practice. I write often, almost every single day. I just start the day with, setting intentions. And for those that don't know, intentions are, they're things that you want, but also with the expectation of having them. So, I intend to have a great chat with you ladies today, and now I expect it to happen, and I'm primed to go in that direction. So the thoughts come in that support that, and the energy comes in to support that. So I take time every day to really set my intentions, to set my expectations today. Sometimes I'll do some, affirmations work, which are just positive statements that, you can get circulating around in your head to hopefully, result in a better experience throughout your day. And then gratitude, it's all about the love. It's all about the appreciation in the law of attraction world. And anybody who's read Ask and It's Given, those are the two most powerful things that you can put out there is love and appreciation. And that's really what makes the literal universe go round. So I do a lot of appreciation work, and it's when you appreciate what you have and you take responsibility for your own happiness and you make it all about the love, and you stop taking things personally, you're going to have a better life experience, in that way, so that when something doesn't work out, it's a lot easier to brush it off. I always love this quote, and it's used by a lot of athletes. there's the famous quote, you either win or you lose. Well, for someone who has kind of that athlete's champion, and I would say law of attraction mindset, it's you either win or you learn, because you have the feedback now. That was an experience that didn't go well. So what is the work I can do? How can I focus my thoughts better to get a better experience or a better result? So that's the learning, so you either get what you want or you get it in a bigger, better way, or you learn, that you got to make some little adjustments here and there to stay on the path of getting the things that you want. So, for me, staying grounded, it's, I love this work. I love doing it. You can't bust out a journal and list a bunch of things you're grateful for and really get that in your bones and not have a good day. That really helps ground me, just to look at it all around. I mean, you could spend an entire day, all day, every day, looking for magnificent things to appreciate in your life and on this planet and in the city that you're in, friends, family, like the list goes on and on and on. So when you take the time to do that, it is a really grounding thing. And the day just seems to go better. And if someone's being a rascal, or if experience didn't work out, it's a lot easier to not take it personally and to brush it off. And so that's been always very, very helpful to me to have those practices.
That's great.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've tried when I started reading Ask and It's Given, it gave you a lot of tasks of things you can do. So I also started to write down everything. So you sort of touched on this already, and you've mentioned that you're writing down your intentions. Is there anything specific you want to sort of attract at the moment that you really, you set in your intentions and you want to attract something in your life? And right now my goal is to do that.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of schools of thought on things like affirmations and intentions and stuff like this. I guess the good rule of thumb is make it personal and specific to you. Use the words that really juice you up. I have one that I've been repeating for years, just about me, as an actor in my acting career, and what is it? It's just, I am a happy and healthy, very well paid, full-time playing actor, and that was crafted very specifically because happy and healthy indicates that, like, I love what I do. I'm not burnt out. I'm feeling great. I'm eating well, and I'm looking good, on camera and off. Very well paid comes to the territory. People respect my worth and my value, and I can enjoy making a living doing that. And then the third component is, full-time playing actor. And so it's like, I've never looked at acting as work. It's always been play for me, even on a 16-hour below zero day on some Bulgarian mountaintop. It's always been play, because the alternative is stuck in an office doing something you don't like. So I like to approach my acting career as play, and I always have. And it's always been a lot of fun. The work is a pleasure to do because it serves me and it serves, me following my bliss. So that's kind of an affirmation that I've had, for years, just about my acting career. But that's very specific to me, things that I value most about the acting career and my experience with it. So that's a really good rule of thumb, is to write, affirmations, and to get that buzzing around in your head and let those thoughts be repeated enough that they kind of become the beliefs that, run the program of your mind. And that's one for me that's very, very specific, but I think anyone can do that using the understanding what you really want, and then using the powerful language that you yourself will respond to, instead of just, reading some blanket affirmations off of a Google search. You could, and they could be helpful to you, but to tailor and tweak those things so that they serve you the best is definitely the way to go.
That's great advice, isn't it? Because we all love affirmations. I think I do look at Google, and I'm looking, but you do look at specific one which basically speak to you, I think, and we do post them. We do post them on in Warriors Within, but this is something which sort of attract a certain affirmation might attract me to posting it, because I know it might sort of affect someone, or someone will read it and think about it, that, okay, this is something I really needed today. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to look at, that you need to you need to focus on specific.
We need to be more specific with it, because at the moment I've just got I am an amazing actress. So I should really be a bit more like I'm happy.
Yeah,
that's sort
well,
of
I mean, look, it's fun, you know, and like I was saying before, it's like the universe is always going to give you the evidence of where you really stand. You know, it's the tricky thing with affirmations is like, do you believe it? Because if you don't believe it, then you're not going to have the positive emotions behind it, right? So it's going to be less powerful for you. It's going to be less impactful for you. It may not bring in, you know, the type of experiences and the manifestations that you want. And, you know, in that book, you know, Asking It Is Given, you know, like you touched on, you know, there's a lot of processes, you know, that they offer. There's, you know, there's ways to play, you know, there's processes, there's applications, there's exercises you can do, which are very helpful. And their general rule of thumb, and I've always loved Abraham Hicks. I've read every single one of their books multiple times. I listen to their YouTube videos all day, every day. And I have for so many years, you know, and it's still a practice of mine that I enjoy very much. I've seen them live when they do their workshops, especially when they come to Los Angeles. I've probably seen them live about 12 times. And it's just been really, really, they're heads above the rest of the spiritual teachers out there that have really greatly impacted my life. But they have this rule, you know, to your point, Rachel, that says, you know, when you're saying things like that, whether it's affirmations or you're just kind of trying to talk yourself through your intentions or whatever, their general rule, and I think it's a great one, is if it start general, you know, and if it feels good, keep getting more specific with it. But when you try to go right for specific and it feels like, yeah, you've got a little bit of a feedback in your head, it's like, I don't really believe that. I don't really think I'm there yet. You know, then that's the clue to dial it back to general, you know, and in your case, it might be something like, you know, I really love acting. You know, I think I could be really good at this. It speaks to me. I have a lot of fun with it, you know, and you start to stay in that general place without putting too much pressure on yourself, without trying to go there too specifically. And then once you own that and you keep trying it on for size and your experiences are good, you know, then you can get really into the specific stuff. And if it continues to feel good when you say it, then you know it's got juice, you know, it's got power. So that's a really good thing. Because trust me, you know, I could sit here and say affirmations about $50 million all day long, but there's going to be something in my mind that kind of spits me out and be like, hey, bro, why don't you focus on your first million first, you know, before you start jumping, you know, into, you know, Jeff Bezos land. So it's a really good feedback loop, and it's, you know, and no one needs to stay stuck there. You know, once you achieve your first million, then you can start setting intentions for your 5 million, you know, so it's a gradual experience, you know, in that way. And there's no way to get it wrong. But, you know, the way you feel is always going to kind of be your guide to know whether you're in the ballpark or not. And there's always ways to course correct.
Yeah, because your emotions come into play with it, don't they? You know,
Definitely.
If it feels good, then you know you're sort of walking in the right direction. If there's sort of that negative feeling towards something, then you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't really do that. Is that how it is? Well, that's what I've read. So I was just thinking, I tend to try and go with what I think. I feel this is a good move. I feel good about this. I'm going to move forward with this. And then sometimes I try to do something and then it's felt off and I'm struggling with it. And I'm thinking, maybe this isn't meant to be because it just doesn't feel right with me. And so then I just back off and then move back to where I was meant to be. I found that a couple of times. So you can lose track sometimes, I think. I lose focus all the time. So
because you've got too many things going on, Rachel.
I feel you there.
Yeah,
I feel you there, you know, and I think one of the greatest things that I discovered, and, you know, and I've read so many, it started with The Secret, but, you know, Abraham Hicks, Mike Dooley is another really great teacher. He's got such a magical way with words, and I'm a words guy, you know, so I love his writings and I love his teachings because of his really fun, colorful, specific words and the way he phrases things. But I've also read a lot of, you know, your classic kind of teachers, self-help personal growth and development teachers, like your Tony Robbins, and I think a lot of them, and I'm actually reading another book right now by Simon Sinek, who I've come across on YouTube. And it's like Find Your Why or something like that, but they all talk about your why. And I think I've talked with you individually both about this. It's the why is so important. You have to have the why. And I'm like you, Rachel. I can get caught up in a million things. I'm my own entity. I run my own business, I guess. I don't go clock in and do a 9 to 5. I'm lucky to be able to be an actor, but even with that, within acting, it's TV, film, voiceover, video games. Obviously I do stuff over here with Twitch and Call of Duty, and now I'm trying to do a thing with playing D&D, and there's a million ways you can get scattered. And so I don't really do a whole lot of stuff if I don't do the why work first, because it will eventually become stressful. And for those that are listening, the why work, that's basically is to find, Tony Robbins recommends find 50 really good feeling reasons why you want something, right? And 50, and his whole thing, and he's pretty harsh. He says, if you can't come up with 50, you don't really want it, or you don't want it for the right reasons, and by good feeling, he means, let's say I want $1 million, and it's like, well, why do you want $1 million? Like, well, it's because my neighbor has $1 million, and I'm sick of being in the smaller house next door to him. Well, that's not a good feeling reason why. You want $1 million because that means you can, take a vacation anytime you want, because money is no object. You want the good feeling reasons why. You want the freedom to walk away from things or situations and step into new ones, from that. So that's a really important exercise. And it's hard because you're tempted to take on a lot and stretch yourself thin, but you kind of got to go back to your whys and cut the wheat from the chaff, as they say, and focus on the things that really juice you up, and follow your bliss in that regards, and having your why, even when you start to have resistance or things don't go well, maybe at the outset, if you have that really powerful why, like, you'll see it through. You'll find a way, the solutions will come, and you'll keep on your path. So it's a really important exercise. You'd be shocked at the people I talk to where it's very clear from the start. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you don't know why you're doing this, or their reasons why are very messed up. It's very common in the acting arena. People want to be an actor, to be famous or to get rich or whatever else. And I'm like, that's not some strong whys right there, and I don't know that you'll last. And oftentimes these are the people that quit and go back to where they came from, and everything else too. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it'll help you get where you need to go.
That's great.
Definitely, that's great. I just think this moment right now that we actually managed to talk about it, and the fact that you're speaking about it, how important it is, and how things are going to plan out the right way. I couldn't ask for a better time to hear all of it, because things been going for me down here with losing my job, finding very quickly new job, which I obviously attracted it, but everything with medical, with losing a job, everything at the same time, with hoping to go to America for my dream holiday, and then finding out you're losing your job. And it's like, oh my God, why everything happens at the same time?
Yeah.
But instantly, as soon as I told myself and I switched that thought in my head saying, oh, you need to be more positive, I had a job next day, literally, and I came out with a better job and better benefits, and hopefully my health is gonna sort out this week and everything, and my flights to America booked, and I'm really looking forward to it. So everything just sort of stacking up right now, but hearing it from you, talking about it, it definitely just sort of boosts up this reason why you need to be positive. And
I love to hear that, and I think that the flip side of that is to really, take some time and appreciate when the things do go well, and that's
Yeah.
what's really interesting, because I've always read a mix of teachers, the books, everything from the spiritual perspective, from the mental perspective. I've just read everything, anything and everything, and I still continue to read this stuff to the day. And, there's a school of thought about responsibility. And I think at the core of law of attraction, it's a responsibility based approach to life. Really, if you have the power to create anything that you want in your life, through your thoughts, through your focus, through your manifestations, and everything else, it's like, well, when things go well, you can give yourself the credit, but when things don't go well, you also got to take the blame. And that's what most people are not very comfortable with. It's a lot easier to blame the world or other people or this or that or whatever when things don't go well. It's kind of like, well, if you're gonna get on board, it's got to be a responsibility based approach, and so it's great when things work out and go well, and you can say, hey, I did that, I created that, I brought that into my experience. But when things don't go well, because you might be a little bit off or things didn't really pan out the way you want, you say, okay, well, I did that too, and I'm not going to dwell on it, and I'm going to improve upon it. I'm going to move on and move forward and do better the next time. So that's kind of really one of the fun things that you run into, is that, people don't mind taking credit for stuff when it goes well, but they also won't do the adjustments when things don't go well. That's when they fall into the trap of blaming everything and everything else for it not going well. So I love, radical responsibility in people's lives. I take it, I hold myself accountable for all the things that come in, good or bad. But a lot of people are not so keen on that approach, but it's kind of very fundamental to law of attraction, because if you have the power to create anything in your life experience, that's when something doesn't go well, it's like, well, it's just on you to kind of make some adjustments, and then it can go well, and I prefer that approach to any other approach 10 times out of 10, but that's where some people get spit out. So it's like, wait a minute, I can't just point a finger and blame everyone and everything when things doesn't go well. That's I don't know if it's for me, and maybe it isn't. You're ready when you're ready, or maybe never at all. But for me, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
There is actually a quote that from Sean Patrick Fanny, which I really love. And he says, you are the writer of your life. And we each are the writers of our life, in the way that the things that, even the things that we say can impact people's lives. So, we've got to be very careful in what we say and what we do. But I do find that sometimes I do get sidetracked, as you say, when we go wrong. It's because I'm actually starting to think in a negative light. So it's trying to make sure that each day we're waking up with that sense of gratitude, that positivity, and not dwelling on anything that is negative, because otherwise we're going to lose that focus. We're going to lose that the direction that we're walking in, that we're going, if we're focused on other things which we shouldn't be really focused on. So yeah, that's really great. And but yeah, remember that quote, you are the writer of your life. Now we are going to move on. We could come back to this conversation at the end, I know, but we are going to move on to what you're passionate about, Chad, and that is Dungeons and Dragons. Now you will soon be streaming on twitch.tv/The Die Is Cast Gaming. I checked the URL, along with several other actors and entertainers. Now, here's a good question I got from someone. It says, when taking part in Dungeons and Dragons campaign, what is your favorite part of the entire experience? What do you like most?
Oh man, I like it all.
Let's start
So
with
fun.
that.
I love the creativity. It's D&D is it's a very collaborative game. You've got all your players come together to kind of figure out problems and find solutions and save the kingdom and or slay the dragon and or do whatever else. So, I really love the cooperation. I love the collaboration. That's really, really fun. For me, I love the combat, it's all set in a fantasy medieval setting, which I'm such a nerd for. And, to go toe to toe with an ogre or an orc or God knows what, a giant spider or even a dragon itself. It's like that to me is really fun. The tactics, the chess of it all, but I've always loved the mental aspect of sports. I've played sports my whole life, but I've always been a big mixed martial arts fan, boxing fans. There's such technicality in sports, that's not just, two barbarians slugging it out. There's, they call boxing the sweet science. There's so much technique, to appreciate. And I've always loved that about the sports that I play and have played and that I enjoy watching and whatever. And I think D&D is really fun for me, when you get to take the sword out of the sheath and get to work on the villain or the dragon or whatever else. That to me is really fun, and how the group kind of comes together and figures out how to, slay a powerful foe, that could literally just eat them, so it's really, I love that aspect. The more I play, the more that the role play aspect grows on me, the social situations where you've got to talk to the king or the sheriff or a town guard or someone who might have information that's useful to you, and to be able to improv and role play that sort of stuff out. It's really grown on me. I've really enjoyed that a lot more in my D&D experience, to be able to problem solve and to say the right thing at the right time, to get the information that you need, to use the different tactics, to kind of glean that information. So I guess that's a very long-winded way of saying that I enjoy everything about it. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Combat's my favorite, though. I love rolling the dice and swinging the swords and casting the spells and seeing what happens.
Although that I literally, Rachel laughed earlier when we spoke. I have no clue what you're talking about. It's not that I'm not interested in it. I wish I was a bit more, but I definitely follow it up, and when you start, streaming, I will have a look at it.
Yeah, get an
because
education.
it definitely seems very interesting, but yeah, so I will have a go at looking at it. But can you tell us something more about a recent photo shoot you've done, which I understand have something to do with your D&D role playing, which we've seen plenty of amazing photos. I think lots of us looked at them for a very long time for not only D&D reasons, I guess, but can you tell us something more about the role you play in?
Yeah, I mean, this is my third photo shoot with Casey Shambora. He's a super talented photographer out here in LA. He had reached out about, hey, you want to take some pictures again? And I said, yes, but, not just the standard, pictures. I'm like, let's get silly. Let's mix it up. Let's do something completely different. So he called a friend and who actually had some like legit medieval swords. And I, my good friend Doug, my producing partner Doug Pasco, he had some old props from his Mythica movies, and he had a couple of other really interesting little dagger pieces and stuff. So I was like, I'll take those, whatever we got, let's go. And and Casey was like, well, what are we gonna do for wardrobe? And I reached out and I'm like, well, I don't have fantasy medieval Renaissance fair wardrobe just laying around. I've never, kind of done that stuff. So I said, Casey, let's make it simple. There just won't be wardrobe. And we'll focus on the badass weapons, And so it was really fun. It was just an experiment. It was really cool. We kind of look, I'm a nerd, and I the chance to just kind of hold a bunch of swords for 2 hours, acting like what you're doing. And a photographer selling that was really fun for me just to kind of do it. And it just felt something so different than the other shoots that we had done before. And I said, well, why the hell not? Let's have some fun with this. So it's not directly tied to, the D&D stream that we're doing. It was more for my own, personal nerdy pleasure, to kind of put that stuff out there, because I hope to be more involved in the D&D world, in the D&D space. And I think it's really fun, if you look around, whether it's conventions or people's Instagrams, like there's a lot of people that put together the most amazing costumes, and outfits, whether they're for Ren fairs, or going to conventions, or they're modeled after their favorite video game character or whatever. I have so many friends even in LA that just do the most amazing fantasy photo shoots, with horses and like underwater, like mermaid stuff. Like, one of our players in the D&D live stream, her name's Mylan, and she does the most incredible, like she literally turns herself into a mermaid and like is doing shots underwater and riding horses with these crazy like Valkyrie outfits. Like that sort of stuff is so cool. I'm not there yet, and that seems really involved for me, but I just thought it'd be fun to swing some swords around in a photo shoot. They're kind of unrelated to anything specifically that I'm doing, but just kind of really fun to get the first one out of the way, and let's see, well, maybe the next one we can come across a suit of armor and see what that's going to look like, in a photo shoot. We'll see. So it was a lot of fun, and they really turned out well, and we had a good time.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
the
they
fans are
definitely.
absolutely loving it, aren't they? And I've started following some of those people that dress up, and they just amaze me. And even their makeup is just amazing. I'm actually thinking of doing some D&D artwork. That's what but I wouldn't have where to start. So maybe just buy the book.
There you go.
But yeah, it's really, really cool. So yeah, did you have anything you wanted to say about D&D? No, Dorota.
Me? Well, I can ask. So, can you tell us when we have a chance to actually, when you start streaming D&D? Did you?
Yeah, we're probably a little bit delayed. Our goal was to do this in early 2022, but you start making the calls and assembling the group, and then you start to learn that you need so many people to make this work and to make it good. We didn't want to half-ass it, for lack of a better term. We wanted to bring a really fun experience, but you have to hire a technical director, because when you play D&D, especially when you play it in an online space, it's like, well, you got to have our floating heads, the players who are playing the characters, and then there's got to be the map here, and there's got to be that here, and then popping art onto the screen that people can see and enjoy and stuff. So there's a lot to manage, and so we have to have custom templates and overlays and everything made for that, and somebody who's got to be. We found a really great guy to come in and manage that for us, stream to stream. But there's a lot of bells and whistles and everything else, especially when you're involving so many other people. Scheduling becomes difficult, doing some practice games and getting familiar with the apps and the programs that we need to run this live and to have it seamless without technical difficulties. So we're hoping that, by mid to late May, we've got it out there, and we're talking a lot this week actually about that. And I'm going to be doing a lot more social media posting and everything else too. So we're working up to it. We wish we could have rolled it out a little bit sooner, but it'll be worth the wait, because it'll be a lot more slick and a lot more polished, and people can just dive in and start enjoying it without interruption.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I recently went to like a D&D tutorial where they showed me, went through a game with one of the guys. And it was amazing. He was doing all the little voices and everything for the characters. And we went through this little, going through these little maps. And he goes, they were simple maps. He usually has like, these other kind of maps. So it's really given me a bug for it. So I'm really looking forward to it. So, yeah. So there is a question that someone else asked. It's not to do with D&D, it's to do with reading. So I thought I'd make it a bit fun. They were like, what books would you recommend reading? But I was thinking, could you think of 3 books would you recommend to us? What are your favorites?
Oh boy, 3 books. Now you're talking in the...
I know you read a lot of books, so I thought I'd break it down.
Yeah. Well, 3 books in the more of the law of attraction, like self-improvement, like personal growth arena.
We could go with...
yeah, well, look, I can give you 3 books about a lot of different genres, but we'll do this one. I think, the one that Dorota held up, Asking It Is Given, that's the one that really changed my life when I dove into that. It's funny. I had that book on my bookshelf for 2 years. I never cracked a page. And I had some stuff going on in my life, and I just felt the impulse to grab it. And once I grabbed it, it was just kind of like I just felt like I found the Holy Grail. Like all the answers were here. You know, everything that wasn't working out in my life, you know, the challenges that I was facing, it just was like instant relief washed over me. And I read it, you know, cover to cover 2 or 3 times in a row. I just started diving into really putting the stuff into practice that they offered in there, doing a lot of the, you know, the exercises and stuff like that too. So that's always been, you know, number one for me is asking it is given. Boy, if there's 3 other ones, let's see.
2 other ones. No.
2 other ones. Boy, oh boy. I have always through the years loved Mike Dooley's books. Mike Dooley was in The Secret. He has a really fun thing on his website called Notes from the Universe, where you wake up to a note from the universe every day in your inbox. If you fill out a profile on his website, I was getting those for so many years. Gosh, what he has so many books, and I'm trying to think of which one is the best one. Let me look at my bookshelf, Mike. What do you got?
Yeah, go
What
ahead.
do you got for me, pal? Where's all my Dooley books? Here's the one that I currently have on my shelf, because I give a lot away. You know, I read them. They really make profound impact on me, and I like to share or get someone else their own copy. And but there's one called Leveraging the Universe. So, you know, that's kind of right in the wheelhouse of what we've been talking about. And he's great too, because you'll find that a lot of people out there in the spiritual law of attraction space, they offer a lot of great information, but like The Secret, they don't really show you how to get your hands in the clay as much, how to start applying it to your life. They don't necessarily always give you a process. You know, a lot of Mike Dooley's books really do. You know, they give you things. He has like a 30-day workbook that I found really helpful. It's super simple. It takes you less than 10 minutes a day, but just for 30 days, it just gets you in the habit of thinking this way, writing things down. So Mike Dooley's book, we'll go with Leveraging the Universe, is a really, really great one. And a third one, it's so hard because I've read so many that it's so hard to pick just one. Man.
It could be on any other subject.
Yeah. Well, I'll stick in this arena. Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer, was really great too. And he was a really, really great law of attraction teacher. And he's written a lot of really classic seminal works on law of attraction, stuff like that. I mean, he's probably written over 20 or 30 books, so it's really hard to pick just one. But the cool thing is sometimes they specialize, like Abraham Hicks has, you know, books that specialize a little bit about here and about here and about here and about here. So it's kind of like wherever you feel like you're at or you want to focus on, you can kind of pick the one book that speaks the most to you. So it's wide open. It's reader's choice, you know, with all those authors. Whatever one speaks to you, they're all valuable.
No, definitely. I think I've got 3 different of Abraham. So there is a different saying for. So you recommended to us nearly last year. That's where we met you. And so I've read them all. I need to look into getting some more. But you wanted to show something, Rachel?
So this is the astonishing power of emotions. So all my life, you know, my emotions had dictated how I lived. So now you can actually take control of your emotions and actually use them to help you to understand where you should be moving forward. So that is a very good one if you find that you're quite emotional.
That's really interesting, you know, and I think it's something you hear a lot in life, you know. It's just like, you know, well, I have feelings and I have emotions, and you know, that's the reason why. And it's like, well, the interesting thing when you learn about law of attraction is, and when I think Abraham Hicks in these books, they do such a masterful job of explaining what that is.
Exactly.
And you know, I think the subtitle of that book, or maybe it's a different book, it's called, you know, Let Emotions Be Your Guide. You know, and most people walk around life being a victim to and a slave to their emotions and not understanding where emotions come from. They think they're just these random things that dominate their life that they have no control over. And it could be further from the truth, you know, and Abraham, you know, offers a really, really great explanation of that. And it's just like you literally Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. And it talks about how with your thoughts, you can literally change your physiology. Fantastic stuff. I really loved his work for a while too. So, but basically what Abraham offers on the subject is that, you know, we think like what, 75,000 thoughts per day. Like we couldn't sit there and try to manage all those thoughts where we're just going and going and going and going and going, and you can't possibly remember or concentrate. It'd be a full-time job. You'd go insane. So, you know, Abraham offers this, you know, it's a hack. It's a shortcut. It's just like, well, you'll know what you're thinking by the way that you feel. Right. And so, you know, if you're thinking positive thoughts, you know, then your corresponding feelings will be anything from excitement to hope to love to appreciation to joy to this to that to whatever else. Right. So it's a hack, you know, this consistent line of thinking that I've had all morning. Well, I'm feeling pretty good. So, you know, I must be thinking really good thoughts that serve me, which is going to bring more things like it, which is going to, you know, float my damn boat. So, you know, and so, you know, when you're feeling depressed or frustrated, angry, whatever else, well, you're on a tear, but you're on a tear in the other direction with what you're thinking, whether you're conscious of your thoughts or not. And we can't manage them all. Right. Yeah. So the emotions it's the shortcut. If you check in yourself, you're like, man, I'm feeling really anxious right now. Well, rewind. What have I been thinking about? Well, you know, rent's due, and you know, I didn't hear back from this audition. I thought I really nailed it. Now you start to see why you have the corresponding emotions, because your thoughts, they need to be cleaned up. You know, if you want to feel better about something, that's how you catch yourself. I'm not feeling really good right now. What have I been thinking? What have I been putting out there? Well, let's turn that train around, because we don't want to keep having the manifestations in that direction. Yeah. Let's find a way to take the edge off. Let's find a way to go a little bit general and to start getting the momentum going in the positive direction with our thoughts, you know, and then enjoying the corresponding emotions that come with that. So it's a really interesting thing, you know, and most people are not taught stuff like this. You discover it at some point in your life, or you don't, you know, whatever your life's path is. But, you know, people who, you know, will cry out that they're, you know, victims of their emotions and whatever. So, well, it doesn't work that way. You know, the emotions come from somewhere, and they come from your habit of thinking. So it behooves you to clean up your habit of thoughts, and you absolutely will feel better emotions, and life will just be damn peachy.
Yes. It actually says, let your feelings be your guide.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Now this is so good, because that's when, you know, sometimes it happens where that your emotion, you just overwhelmed by emotions, and sometimes they are negative emotions, isn't it? So when you feel like this, then you almost feel that there is no turning back, but you need to. That's when you sort of, what I do then, I look at everything I'm grateful for, and then you sort of leveling it up and see, you know, actually some things might be bad at this time, but there is so many things around you can still be grateful for, and you start to think more positive. So,
well, I came across a really cool thing. It's this guy Simon Sinek, and I'm diving into his book right now, and it's a book about finding your why, and it's about people and leaders and organizations and the why that makes them successful. But he just talked about this psychological hack, you know, and it just says that, you know, your mind can't focus on the negative, right? So if I say, you know, don't think of a flying pink elephant right now, your mind doesn't care about don't. It thinks about a flying pink elephant, you know, and that's true of us all. And the universe, I've heard the universe described as it's a yes machine. You know, it's literally the universe at large, out there, everywhere, energy, frequency, whatever you want to call it. It's a genie, and it just responds to what you're putting out there. It doesn't respond to, you know, no, I don't want to lose $1 million. It responds to $1 million, you know, and that's the sort of thing. It's just like, you know, I really don't want to get in a car accident today. It's like car accident, you know, it's like, you know, that's how the universe works. That's literally how the entire universe is orchestrated. And if you can understand that, then you can work it, you know, you can let it serve you in that way, rather than thinking that there's just chaos and randomness and whatever else. And, because pessimism doesn't really serve you in the long. If you think about how your brain works, if you think about how the universe functions at large, the pessimism thing doesn't really work. The negative thoughts don't work. Framing things in the negative perspective rather than the positive perspective doesn't work, because your mind, your imagination, the universe, they all respond the same way. It's like, what is your focus on? If your focus is on, $1 million, and it's like, all right, let's start to organize the things to get you the $1 million. If it's,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man, I really, I don't even know. There's a million examples. I used the car fender bender accident, whatever else, but it's like, it's funny because when you realize this, when you do have the fender bender and you're like, oh man, my thoughts were so all over the place. And then I just jumped into something. And next thing you know, I'm not paying attention. I rear-ended somebody, and that's on me, because I was a little bit sloppy with my thinking and I kind of brought that in. So it's fun, like I said, it's not for anyone, but for anybody who wants to really squeeze the juice out of life and have the best experience possible. It does take the work, and it takes the habit, and takes the practice, just in the same way that if you want to transform your body, it starts in the kitchen, then you got to show up for the gym. It takes a little bit of work, but the payoff is an incredible life experience. So I just wanted to share that little thing about
Exactly. No, exactly. So my next question, which you covered up with us, but that was over a year ago now. And we've got new members in our group. So let's remind them what you can tell us or recommend to stay motivated, basically, to just keep going, to if it comes to sort of healthy lifestyle or going to the gym, or how you doing it yourself to stay motivated, and what would you tell us to do?
I've always come across this really the subject in the personal growth and development world and the law of attraction world and everything I read and everything I listen to, the difference between motivation and inspiration, and huge difference, and I probably talked about this with you both before, and maybe some of the other chats I've had, but it's game changing once you understand the difference between the two. And motivation is setting your alarm for 6 a.m. and dragging yourself to the gym. It's like everything's screaming out that you don't want to do it, but you've committed to it, so you're going to power through it, this miserable experience, right? Inspiration is, you can't wait to get to the gym because you know what the end result's going to be. You know how you're going to feel long term, and so you're inspired to do it. I guess it's an internal motivation rather than chasing some sort of external reward. And, studies have always shown that people who are inspired will stick to it. They will form the habits. They will show up. People that are motivated, they're the ones that wash out. They're the ones that fall off. They're the ones who don't, make it the good habit. And so that's a really big fundamental difference. And I think that if you want to be inspired, it behooves everyone to take the time to find your why, because your why will keep you inspired, and it will keep you juiced up through the difficult, challenging times. It'll make you more excited as you incrementally get to where you want to go. It's an incredible tool to use, and I don't recommend motivation for anyone. Motivation's the hard road. It can be useful, but at the same time, inspiration, you're going to have a much higher success rate, but that means you just got to do a little bit of the work ahead of time to be very crystal clear about why you're doing something in the first place. And then, before you know it, setting that alarm for 6 a.m. to go to the gym is a joy. And, and you can't wait, because you've lined up with it and you're very crystal clear about why you're doing it. And you probably won't fall off the boat. So in terms of me, that's, and I brings us full circle to what I was saying earlier. When you have that strong sense of why you're doing something, in terms of, my fitness and stuff like this, I want to feel good. And, for someone who's had health issues and has had issues with certain types of foods and whatever else. And, having that why, and for me, it's wanting to feel good. There's certain foods that if I eat, I'll feel terrible. It'll literally ruin my day. So it's not worth it to me. I like to focus instead on the things that serve my goals and serve my body in the way that helps me feel the best. in terms of, working out and stuff like this. Why do I do it? It's not always fun. It's not always pleasant. But I want to, play in the movies that I want to play in. I want to be able to, have a fit enough body that I can still play basketball at this ripe old age.
Yeah.
I can still throw down and, with the boxing and the stuff like that. I really, for me, it's become second nature, but it's because I've always had a very strong reason, why. Because, sometimes workouts hurt and you hobble around sore for the next 2 days as a result. But those are, if you don't know why you're doing it, then those are the people that ain't ever going back. And I've been going and going and going and going for years. And I think it all comes down to that.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going wrong then, because I don't really have a why. And I did do an 80-day obsession, and I went really lost loads of weight, got muscles and everything. But there was a lot of people that said, you're losing too much, you're thin. You're so thin, you'd stop losing weight. And then even the doctor said, you're at your ideal weight, don't lose any more. And it actually put me off wanting to do any more. So I've got to position and think differently now, because I'm thinking I don't want to lose weight, but I want to tone up and build muscle. And
Rachel,
how do I do
you
that?
fall into the trap of other people.
So this was
other people. Listen, I love people, don't get me wrong, right? But I, at the end of the day, don't have very much use for them. And I don't mean that to be harsh. I just mean that if I am on my life's path, if I know what I want and why I want it, I'm not going to take anything personally. If if you're failing in your goals and you try to take the piss out of me and you try to, tell me to drop it or this or that or whatever, I'm like, that's fine. Thank you. That's interesting. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm happy. It's working out for me, that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of teachers out there who definitely lean towards the more harsh, direct, blunt, in your face, and I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here, but some of the terms I've been bandied about is you only have so many fucks to give in a day. You got to decide when it comes to you and yours and what you want. You got to give 0 fucks about what anyone else has to say about it. And that's it. And that's what's that internal inspiration, that internal motivation, that internal locus of control. That's what you got to develop, because that's how you make the difference in your life. That's how you stay on your path. There's going to be all sorts of people who are letting themselves down, who will try and tear you down and say things like that. And, for me, my skin is bulletproof. I don't take anything personally. For the last 20 years, I've been mostly told no in my, dream profession, 99% no. I'm just constant rejection everywhere I go. There's nothing and no one out there who's ever going to say, you should give that up, or you shouldn't do this, or you should think about. I'm like, you know what? That's my job. I take responsibility for that. I'll decide what makes me happy, and then I'll go get it. So thank you. I appreciate it. But the best thing you can do is probably go focus on yours. And I don't take it personally ever, because I take responsibility, for my life. So easier said than done, especially if you're a social person. But at the same time, you got to be prepared to, give the 0 Fs about what people think and say about
this is
you.
a book which I think everyone of us should read. Yeah. The Subtle Art of Not Giving Fuck.
Don't take my word for it. Read that guy's book.
That's what I need to get then.
This book is great, and honestly, I know many people who read it and they think the same. So another recommendation for everyone. Just read it out.
So basically, I'm going to write my why down and go for it. All right.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Do it.
All right.
Do it. We will keep motivating girls. We just
that voice kept going in my head, you're too thin, you're too thin. And I should have slapped it in the face.
Well, I listen, I think a really cool thing to do is check in. And I came across a teacher once, who had employed a lot of this stuff, and she did it in the acting arena, Amy Jo Berman. She's really wonderful in the way that she empowered actors through kind of teachings like this, law of attraction, this, that, whatever. When we used to go and watch Abraham workshops together, she was awesome. And I studied with her and I knew her for a really long time. She's really great. She's still out there offering amazing stuff for actors. Amy Jo Bourbon, if you want to look her up, because it's empowerment, and it's empowerment coming from a law of attraction mindset level, but then also skills and techniques as an actor. She's a former casting director. So, she kind of offered this thing, where it's like, because, no one will beat themselves up more than actors, really, no one gets rejected more than actors. And so it's when you start getting down on yourself, when you start, Rachel, like having thoughts like that, a really cool little technique she offered was, is that mine or is that someone else's? To ask yourself that, and in your case, you're getting too thin. It's like, well, is that mine or is that someone else? It's like, I feel good. I look good. I'm healthy. Is that someone else? Is that someone else who's not in great shape? Is that someone else who can inspire themselves to take care of themselves and their health? Is that just them wanting to lower my vibration to come down to their level so they can feel, temporarily better about themselves? So, like, you have to be aware of that. You got to be willing to challenge, where that stuff comes up. Where is it coming from? Is that mine or is that society's? Is that mine or is that, an ex relationship? Is that mine or is that my parents? Where is this stuff coming from? And you got to be willing to challenge yourself on that sort of stuff. And if you don't like where it came from, it's like, well, it's time for it to go. And I'm going to replace it with something else, with a thought that serves me, so I can stay on my path and keep doing what I'm here to do. So a little hack that I always found really helpful, because we'll always have those moments. We'll always have people come in and give us their opinion about what we should be doing and whatever else and why, when really they'd be better served if they just minded their own and took care of their business, and so I love what another, honorable mention book I'd add to that list is, I just read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And I found it profound, and there's so much stuff about responsibility and meaning, and I don't agree 100% with a lot of it, but he makes incredible points, and he has this rule that I just love it, because I've been living my life like this for a very long time. And his rule is, get your house in order before you criticize the world. And that basically means, put your life together and make it solid and make it as perfect as you can, make it great, do that, concentrate your energies there before you go criticize that person and judge that person and say that's wrong in society, that structure's wrong, I'm going to go change that. It's just like, well, put your house in order, and I've always loved that approach, because it keeps you in the personal responsibility arena, it keeps you in the accountability arena. And people will often not take care of their own business because they're too busy telling everyone else how to run theirs. And it's those people are, it's just, I don't have much room, in my life anymore for people like that. I'm like, if you add value to my life, let's party,
Exactly. I think that's what you said, isn't it? It's, we sort of trying to stay away from all the negativity, and all the people who just sort of wish you bad intentions and everything, and you just need to surround yourself.
I think a great thing too is when you're in this place to taking responsibility for your own life, and you can get to a place where you don't take things personally, you can see people in a whole different loving light, right? It's someone who's going to criticize me, someone who's going to give me a hard time, someone who maybe has a bad attitude toward me or something else. It's like, well, I have I can understand where you're coming from. I can understand that, these thoughts in your head are not serving you and they're spitting you out. Like, I'm not going to take it personally, but I can understand that since I know I'm the creator of my own life, the writer of my own story, as Rachel said, I know you are too, whether you want to own that or not. So I'm not going to take it personally when you're off your rocker and you're trying to criticize me or give me a hard time. It's like, well, you perhaps don't have the tools to manage your own life, or you don't have the interest, but I know you have the same power I do, so I'm not going to take it personally. You're having a bad day. You're having a bad time. You got a lot of non-serving beliefs. why would I take that personally? That's your problem. You're trying to ruin my day. Well, it's like, well, your day is ruined every day because you're not cleaning up your act, and you're not taking responsibility, and you're not putting your power to use for good, and you suffer as a result of that. Your snarky comment to me, you must be in a bad place because you're offering snarky comments to people. Like, your life is infinitely worse, and I'm not going to take it personally. And and I can understand where you're coming from, and maybe I can try to uplift you or inspire you or help you, in a way. But if you're committed to being stuck there and all you've got to offer is stuff like that, well, it's like, look, wish you the best of luck.
Exactly.
Thanks for
Exactly.
sharing that interesting thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, during the lockdown, you went through that stage where, you weren't able to act and to do any, work. And then you ended up like doing how many films? All one after the other, after the other, after the other. And one of those is called Assailant, which was released on the 22nd of March by Redbox Entertainment. For those of you in the US, you can go and watch it. It's on demand over there. So I just want to know, I know other people do too, what was it like behind the scenes, filming in that location, working with your co-stars? Did you actually imagine yourself working on this environment, envision it before you even went? How did it come about,
Yeah, it's a really wonderful experience. And it's funny to think that it was a year ago already. The pandemic, the only location that I was in was my friggin' apartment for a whole year. And then the next year to go literally to the Caribbean and to film back-to-back movies down there on a very small but very lush kind of tropical island was incredible, And Assailant was the second of the two movies that I had filmed on a little island called Nevis. That was fun. It came together really last minute, really fast. There's plans to make the rom-com that I had shot first called 1 Year Off. And then everyone was like, well, this is amazing. Like, we're all here already. And this island is so safe and COVID free and whatever. It's just like, let's keep making movies. So the producers had just started to smash stuff together and be like, we're already here. We've got the crew. We've got some talent. We've got, this, that, whatever. It's like, where are the movies? Like, let's make the movies, while we're here. And so that kind of came together very quick. Our director, Tom Payton, wrote it in like 2 weeks. Something ridiculous, while he was prepping for this movie. So I continued on and I stayed on and we shot this film in probably under 3 weeks, 16, 18 days and whatever else. And then we finished up in York, of course, where I got to meet you two lovelies and share a pint with you. That was fun. But it was fantastic. What an extreme contrast going from my, Los Angeles apartment, to, living, basically at the Four Seasons in Nevis for 4 months to make back-to-back movies. It was really incredible and such a lovely place. And it served as such an amazing backdrop for these two films. So one's out, Assailant, and the other hopefully will come out soon.
So we still in UK need to wait for it, but I will wait. Or as I mentioned, I will make sure to watch it in June while I'm in America.
Yes, do
I just one evening sorted. I just need to watch it. So can you tell us, just before we're gonna finish off, can you tell us something more about different projects you've got either going on? Well, I know you can't say much, but you also, I think, shoot another movie, did you? Not only those two, you shoot a few more last year.
Yeah, we did. It was in Deadline, did a kind of a first look at this movie, but it's called Dead Zone. I filmed a movie called Dead Zone last summer, which is like a military action horror movie, which is really fun. Me and Michael Jai White and Jeff Fahey. Again, I worked 3 movies in a row with Jeff Fahey after never working with him in my life, which is awesome. Super fun. So that I don't have any news on a release date or where it'll be distributed or who's picked it up, but I know that information should be coming soon. That was a fun one to do, some really cool costumes and looks. creature feature of sorts. So that, and I can't say much more, but hopefully I'll have some news to say about the Sniper universe and what we've got going on there. So you didn't hear anything from me because I have nothing to say, and I have no information, and I have no intel, and that's above my pay grade and all the other things. So, but hopefully maybe one day, possibly soon, I can let y'all know what's going on with that fun movie franchise.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And finishing on that, I just wanted to say massive thank you for everyone who sent us the questions, and we've managed also to fit in some of our questions. So thank you very much for your time, Chad, today. I think this conversation, it will benefit lots of people watching it, who are currently in our Warrior Within group, and they're active and they need some inspiration and motivation, and in the journey. So thank you very much for your time.
I love talking about this stuff. I keep things positive on social media by design. It's funny to bring it back around because, one of the first questions you asked was just about, attracting positive people. And, I try to maintain a positivity, that I put out there very specifically on social media. I don't get into the controversial stuff. I'm not really here for fights or arguments or to be right about anything and tell you that you're wrong. That's not really who I am in real life. And that's not what I want to put out there in social media. I want to put it out there for a place for people to have fun and to be inspired and to be uplifted. And it's just amazing because that's what I see all the time. It's, people coming together and forming friendships and supporting each other. And it's like I love to make the joke when I stream on Twitch. I'm like, you guys aren't here to see me. You're here to play with each other. And I love that. That's by design. I want that, and it's really cool. And it's a love fest. And I think that's really amazing, but going back to what I said, it's like, I know why I'm on social media. I'm very crystal clear. I know how I want to represent myself. I know what I want to put out there. I know what I want to attract, in terms of the people and that I get to play with and meet and interact with and everything else. And it's nice because you see this beautiful manifestation of an amazing collection of people for all around the world. And, it all starts with a why. And I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful for it.
So Chad, for these new members within our Warrior Within group who are new, who may not have a clue who you are, could you just tell us where we can find you on the social media? So
new members, welcome. You couldn't be in better hands than with these two, and I'm going to try and find your boxes on the Zoom, but maybe it's going to look different. Rachel and Dorota are really so lovely, so you're welcome, and you're lucky to have them. Have some fun here. But I'm Chad. I've known Rachel and Dee for a long time now, and good pals of mine. But I'm on socials if you want to come check out what I get up to. Twitter and Instagram is Collins Chad M. And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Chad Michael Collins. And then I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chad Michael Collins. And I'll be streaming D&D live in about a month, I hope. And as Rachel pointed out, that's twitch.tv/The Die Is Cast Gaming. DIE as in dice. So we'll be bringing that to you as well. And I'm also, I guess I should know, I'm on the TikTok like the kids as well. So I'm trying to just have a little presence there. I mostly just take pictures and put them in a slideshow and add music. I'm pretty basic.
I think we are still waiting for this,
Yeah.
Rachel can teach you how to do some nice TikTok
videos where you talk. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm letting it live for right now. Maybe I'll play with it and try to build it out later, but it's cool. I have one. So that's the first step in getting started, I suppose. And I think that's also at Collins Chad M, TikTok.com/@Collins Chad M. So anyway, come say hi. Love to meet you, and welcome to the group.
Yeah, you definitely, everyone should come and follow you, and all the positivity and everything you've got to offer. That's something everyone should look into more. So thank you very much, Chad, for joining us today as our third guest on our coffee and conversation, or as Rachel said, I should point out, is for me it's always alcohol. But yeah, it's evening. You just woken up, but for us it's now 7 p.m. So it's time to have a drink. So thank you once again, Chad. And hopefully, we're gonna see you around.
Hope so. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for the questions and everything else from the group. And you too, as always, for moderating, and it's always a pleasure.